Hi, guys, and welcome back to Left on Red with your host, Sierra Claire. Today's episode is called Left on Red, literally, and this will probably be a series spread out. I don't know how many parts, but today will be part one, and it's going to be a bit different. So, every episode, I try to bring in my own personal life, where I'm talking about my own personal life experience and giving my opinion. And so this series, Left on Red, literally, is about me being left on red in some way, shape, or form within my dating life. Like outside, like I know with Left on Red, we do career and dating, but it's heavily influenced with dating. But this is part one of me being left on red with a guy I met from speed dating. I don't know what part two or three, four, or five would look like, but I feel like these episodes could be spread out when I feel like it is solely just about me being left on red, and it's very fresh. I don't have a solution, but it's just like fresh and just being honest and authentic with you guys. So um the last episode that came out last week was called Dating Your Opposite, and I talked about like me feeling like we were opposites and just like our dating experience. And like throughout this whole journey, I've been really open with you guys on what's been going on. And so this is an update and where we stand now. So over the weekend, I'm recording this episode May 10th, so it's a Wednesday. And over this past weekend, we spent some time together. I like slept over his house and we did brunch and we got like takeout and we did all the things, and it was going really well. And I like really felt like from all the episodes that we have talked, like I've talked about him until now, that we were in a really good place. And I think the insecurity, right, of like me not having a job or me feeling like we were opposites or whatever, like it was all fading away because it was all my own insecurities, not how it was. And we were having really good conversations just about us. And so the morning I left, we spoke, and he expressed that he really liked me and the way things were going and how we were progressing, and he could see us together in a relationship. And I expressed the same thing. Um, and it was like a really like sweet moment. But this is where it kind of, it gets not so sweet. So after he expressed that, he did say like, hey, I actually have like a little bit of a mental roadblock with us progressing. And that mental roadblock is you not being on birth control. So we actually had this conversation a while back, and I did tell him like I'm not on birth control. However, like like we'll have protected sex, etc., and that was fine. So when he brought it up again, he was just like, I feel like he's like, I'm coming from a place to be very cautious and considerate, because I like at this point, like we're both not ready. Like he's like, I'm not ready, you're not ready. So like I want us to be really cautious about that, which I 100% understand and respect. And that wasn't the issue. My issue comes from, I feel like when you say, I want to be with you and I like the way we're moving, but my roadblock is you not being on birth control, I felt like he was dangling commitment of me being his girlfriend for birth control. So it's like, you want to be my girlfriend? Okay, I need you to get on birth control. Like, it was very like transferable. And he's like, it'll give me like a peace of mind, and it gives me this and it gives me that. And it like I just felt like all of this would be for him. So I'll give you guys some backstory on me being on birth control and my experience that made me so traumatized from it. So years ago, I was on the pill, and I was only on it because the guy I was seeing wanted me on it. So obviously we can have sex and I won't get pregnant. And at the same time that I was on it, his sister had the birth control implant in her arm. And I remember when she got it in the beginning, she's like, oh, this is like amazing. It's like the best birth control. Like, it's great. Da, da, da. And then as more time went on, she got like very depressed, extremely like couldn't get out of bed, depressed, would stay in the bed all day and would just say things like, I want to kill myself. And me being just on the pill made me feel so emotional, so just like a zombie, just so stuck and depressed. And one day I was over his house and his sister was there, and at the time her then boyfriend was there, and she went downstairs and was just having like a manic episode in the kitchen and was just like screaming and was like, I need this birth control out of my arm, like I can't do it. And we all rushed downstairs, and she literally takes the knife from the kitchen, guys, I swear to God, and just slices her left arm to get the implant out of her arm. And her boyfriend goes to grab the knife from her, and she just starts stabbing herself. And I will never forget that day. And it was one of those things that it's like, it's so traumatizing. But at the same time, it was like I saw myself in her, because the me just being on the pill made me feel like such a zombie that some days I felt like I don't want to be here. And this happened when I was in Florida. So in Florida, they have something called, you can be Baker acted, which is what they did. So the ambulance came, they got her, and she ended up being Baker acted for 72 hours, which means you're in a psychiatric hold for 3 days. And they didn't take the implant out her arm either. So they just like sedated her, and she was in a psychiatric hold. And then the following week, they got the implant out of her arm. And from that day, I was like, I am off this shit. I'm never doing it again. And even after that, the guy I was seeing at the time, it was like such a toxic, such like relationship. It really was. He was like, okay, you don't have to be on birth control, but I feel like you should be taking Plan B, like whenever, because you're not like you don't want to be on birth control anymore. You should be taking Plan B. And for me, it all came from a place of like power and control, because I didn't get on birth control because I wanted to. Mind you, I was like a teenager, this is years ago, but I didn't get on birth control because I wanted to. I got on it for him, right? And after that, he was like, okay, well, like just take Plan B. And I was like, no, like, like it was all for him. And so my background with birth control kind of just stems from this place of, I'm kind of stuck in this fear and what I went through and what I witnessed, that I don't want to do something just for a guy. I don't want to do something just so he feels like he has control over my body. And so that is where I am like stuck in. So with that being said, that's the background of me. And so this conversation that I'm having with the guy, I I didn't tell him all of what I just expressed on the podcast. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm like, wow, I didn't express all of that. I just said like I had a very hard time with it. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be like, I think the conversation I wanted to have with him was, I wanted to be like a productive, educational, solution oriented conversation. And it turned into a very like intense and emotional conversation. And I was like, because I'm very much stuck in how I felt years ago. And I was just telling him like, like you can't control me. Like you can't, like I can't. And he's like repeating himself. He's like, I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to do this. I want you to understand like where I'm coming from. And, and I'm just like, this is this conversation that we're having is like long-term commitment and a lot of what ifs, and you haven't even like committed to me, like you haven't made me your girlfriend. And so where does that lead us? And he's like, I think these are conversations you should have before you get into a relationship, right? And I asked him, I was just like, so if I don't get on birth control, like, is that the end all be all? And he's like, I don't want you to get on something that you just expressed to me made you feel bad. And so I was like, my only compromise is I'm very much open to going to the doctor and having a conversation and seeing like all my options, right? Because there's so many different options, but I can't 100% tell you I'll get on birth control. And he was like, but will you take a Plan B? And For me, this like the thing is, I would, because I don't want to have kids like anytime soon. I 1,000% would. Where this apprehension comes from is like it just takes me, I feel like it's taking me back 7, 8 years ago to me feeling like I'm being forced to be on birth control, to get like, shove a plan B down my throat. And I don't want to feel that way. And I just kind of like freaked out, and I was just like, no, like I would do it, but this just feels like, it just feels so controlling, and like it's an ultimatum. And if I don't do this, and you can't be with me, and like the conversation, it was not productive whatsoever. It didn't go anywhere. And it pretty much ended, right? Like I was just like, I don't know what else to say, because this is where you stand and this is where I stand, and I don't know where we can meet in the middle. And I was very like emotional, like I was very emotional, and I was like upset, and I was a bit hysterical, like in the sense of like I was like raising my voice and I was crying. And he was just like, I don't know, maybe we should just like end it, because I don't know where we go from here. So we ended it, and that is that. Like, so this is part one of like Left on Red, literally. Because there's no solution. I don't know where we go. I don't know if we'll talk again. Of course, I'll give you guys like an update, but I would love to hear from you guys like in the DMs. I'm not gonna post this on like as like a reel or a story up on the Instagram page, because it's just so personal. But for all of like the loyal listeners, if you guys are listening and you want to DM me about it, my DMs are open. I want to talk to you guys, and I want to see what you guys think and like your opinion on it. Because like we're a community, we're a family, and I'm very hurt by it, because I like this guy, and I'm hurt by it because I personally feel like I am operating from a place of fear, and the fear is outweighing everything else in this situation. And I feel like he's operating from a place of fear as well. And so guys, I truly don't know. But this is like part one of this series of like being left on red. And I have no solution for you guys at the moment. Like I love doing my episodes where I give you guys a topic, we go through the experience together, and there's like a solution on how I got through it, and how I like what I would give you guys to go through it. And I don't have it at the time. So hopefully I can do like a follow-up episode and be like, this is how I got through it, and I'm so amazing. But this is as like raw and as vulnerable as it gets. I really don't know like what to do. And I can't help but to feel like, a bit of a fail right now. So these are just like the super raw emotions of it. But if you stayed for the entire episode, let me know what you guys think. Let me know your opinion. Let me know, have you guys dealt with like getting on birth control or being on birth control, or a partner telling you that they want you to or not? And how'd you guys navigate that conversation? I would really, really love to hear from you guys. So that's it. That's part one of this series. Part two, we don't know when that's coming, but this is just part one of my Left on Red raw emotions. And let me know in the DMs, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.